Hello. Can you hear me? Testing. Okay, good morning everybody. Nice to see so many of you online joining this course and these intensive lectures in e-business in tourism. I can see from the student chat that the technology is working as it's supposed to be. Everybody is hearing me, seeing my presentation, seeing the website that we are on in the Moodle course. It's nice to see so many of you online. This is excellent. Fantastic. Technology works as it should be. That's really strange. Hello. Hi.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm Juho.
I'm Masashi.
Masashi. Excellent. Yeah. We also have, apparently, we just started, so please sit down. No worries. We have the rest of the course online in the Moodle chat. Yeah. And Musashi came here in Kuopio to participate in these lessons. So it's fantastic that I have at least some audience and you will have excellent private tutoring on this topic right now. Yeah. We have 2 very long days ahead of us, but the topic is extremely interesting and important. E-business in tourism. My name is Juho Pesonen. As you might know, especially those of you who are participating in this course, and sorry, I have so many computers in front of me that I have difficulties keeping track. You can see the presentation probably. Yes, connection works well. Excellent, excellent. Thank you all for feedback. I have a difficult challenge of giving 2 days of lectures here. I'm not a big fan of this traditional lecturing type of teaching where the teacher sits in front of the class, in this case virtual class, but in any case and just speaks his mind. So I'm trying to make this as interactive as possible, especially that we have, I think, almost 10 students or something like that participating online. And one here in this classroom in Kuopio, so we have some interactivity also. And during this course, there is a Moodle chat that all the students who are not here in Kuopio can participate in the courses. And I will read this chat constantly, so whenever you have any questions, ideas, comments, or anything like that, please write them on the chat, or Musashi can ask directly from me whenever you have any problems. So it's been really interesting to read all your introductions in the Moodle. I see that we have very different levels of knowledge on the topic, but one thing that came in all these introductions basically is that you all recognize how important this topic is. Especially if you have anything to do with tourism business, the marketing and sales and management of tourism, this course is one of the most important courses that you can take. I have been teaching this course for, I think, 5 or 6 years now in different levels in Finnish higher education system. And here in the Finnish University Network for Tourism Studies. I'm myself head of research, especially e-tourism research in our department in Center for Tourism Studies, and have been involved with e-tourism or information communication technologies in tourism for quite a long time, almost 10 years now. I remember the first time I was introduced in the topic was one of our university courses, e-business in tourism, and oh boy, have things changed since then. And this is really interesting course to teach because everything changes so fast. So now, even for this year, I had quite a lot of material from last year, and I had to go through all of them again. So all the numbers are constantly changing. The change is so fast in this business that if you see any numbers from online users from 2014 or 2013, they are already ancient history. Everything's developed so fast. It's also what makes this topic really interesting. And now that you are here in this course, this is not something that gives you like all the definite answers to this topic, because this is such a huge topic, so wide, so many different things to focus on, to do. I'm here just to give you an idea of what kind of different concepts they are involved in this e-business in tourism course and content, but you will have to, if you want to focus more on these topics, you have to put yourself and put more effort yourself into these different topics that I'm presenting here today and tomorrow. This is a quote from Steve Jobs that I really love. Technology is nothing. What's important is that you have a faith in people and that they're basically good and smart, and if you give them tools, they do wonderful things with them. This also reflects my approach into the whole topic of e-business and technologies and digitalization, that we tend to focus a little bit too much on technologies. For example, in Finland at the moment, there is this huge discussion about innovation and digitalization and how all the different companies have to use electronic channels and be in social media and sell online and so on. But all this discussion is really focused on technology, but they are just tools. For example, in Silicon Valley in USA, they don't talk about digitalization. There's no such term. It's a Finnish or European discussion. They are talking about how to solve customer problems, how to create customer experience, how to create customer value, really customer-focused, customer-centric, not technology-focused. Technology is just a tool to do wonderful things. Steve Jobs did some fantastic, fabulous things with technology, but it was not technological innovation that created Apple as it is today, but it was customer innovation. This course, this kind of discussion is one of those discussions that participating in this course gives you tools to think about and examine. This course has some really important goals that help you to understand this topic. We are going to examine and understand the changes and possibilities these rapid developments of information and communication technologies have brought upon tourism businesses. So the focus is really on tourism businesses and tourism destinations. Also, we're going to discuss about how technologies have changed consumer behavior and especially tourist behavior. All this material will be available, I have to say at this point, all this material will be available to you later. So I will upload these videos to YouTube probably at some point next week. And I will upload these PowerPoint slides that I'm using this teaching material to Moodle course and probably SlideShare later on. But there are some things that we work on with these slides during these lectures together. So they are not available for you just yet. But later on you will have access to all this material that I'm using in this course. You also have course material in Moodle, which provides you insights into different topics of e-business in tourism. So basically, I have divided the course content, material into two different things: internet links and scientific articles, which provide you an overview. You see, I don't tell you that you have to read them all word by word, but at least go through them, look what kind of contents there is, what kind of topics these different articles and links discuss. And you have to understand what kind of tremendously huge topic this is. So much more than just technology. But as I said earlier, we are focusing here in this course on how to do business. I myself did my PhD on marketing a few years ago here in University of Eastern Finland, and especially online marketing is really important, a big part of this course. After the course, I would like you to know that why e-business is so important. I think from your introductions in the Moodle, I could already see that many of you understand that it's really important for businesses. But why is that, and how can it be utilized in everyday business and also in your studies? Especially regarding your studies, we are going to go through, after these introductions and context, that what kind of theories are behind e-business in tourism. There are some theoretical backgrounds that I have collected for the next lectures that elaborate you what are the things that move behind all this change that's happening all the time. Then you hopefully also know how is e-business, online business, conducted in practice, in actual websites, social media, online travel agencies, mobile devices and applications. There's so much to talk about these topics, so I'm just going to provide you an overview, that a starting point for your own research into the topics. But there's a lot of things that you will probably learn during these courses. And the assignments for this course really reflect these topics. Let's see. Let's see if we can see the Moodle course here. Let's first examine what we are gonna do here during these 2 days. I hope you see also this, but you can also see the Moodle in your own computers. But we're going to go through here, history and context first. Just give you an overview, what has happened before, how did we get here? Then we're going to go through the central theories that I've encountered during my work here in Center for Tourism Studies and in e-business. These theories come up all the time when e-businesses and online business are talked about, so it's important to know them. Besides those theories, and there are also more theories that you can find in the articles that I have uploaded in the Moodle, but besides just theoretical approaches, we are going to go through what is e-business in practice, what to do when you are managing a destination, marketing a destination or tourism business. We're going to go through the website, how important website is in modern online marketing world for tourism, how do you do online commerce. Then in the afternoon, also we're going to examine social media and content creation. These two concepts are really entwined, entangled, and are really useful to examine together. Then we're also going to look some really practical and concrete examples of tourism marketing based on the projects that I'm working on at the moment. And then we go home. Tomorrow we're going to start at 9 o'clock again and start the day by analyzing and managing online businesses. Data has become so important part of doing online business that it really deserves its own lecture. It's what differentiates good companies from those that are not so good. It's a central source of competitive advantage for modern online businesses. Then also we're gonna go through mobile devices. These mobile devices are one of those things that really has impacted e-business in tourism greatest during the past 10 years. Then finally, we're going to examine search engine marketing, online security for business purposes, customer relationship management, marketing automation, and artificial intelligence. These are some of the topics that especially big companies have to deal with every day. Search engine marketing, of course, for all possible companies, but especially those last things are really important if you are managing a destination or doing marketing in a big company. After the lunch, we are focusing really much on destination marketing and management in the era of online businesses, in the era of online commerce. We have been doing quite a lot of research in this topic in Center for Tourism Studies, and I'm going to show you some research and some good examples of where the destination management organizations, for example, at this moment are. Then we're going to end the day by looking at the future of tourism in digitalization world. Where are we going? So we started from the past, what has happened, what has brought us here. Then we're going to go through 2 days of what's happening at this moment, and then end these lectures into where we are going next. And there's not a topic that is more useful to know where are we going than e-business in tourism, because everything is constantly changing. Then for those of you who are completing the course, let's see if I have. I have tried to open up the assignment scales and how to complete the course as well as possible. I suggested to you that you could do Google Digital Garage exercises before the course and even during the course. And when you return all your other assignments, you can show me, taking a screenshot or something like that, show me how many lessons you have completed in Google Digital Garage to get some bonus points for completing this course. Has anyone of you already started studying these Digital Garage courses? Musashi, did you?
Sorry.
Not yet? Yeah? Anybody else? These are really, really good lessons on how to use Google tools to do online business. They have 89 lessons altogether, and of course they are free for everybody. You just have to have Google Digital Google account that you can sign up for the courses. And of course they are free, but they teach you how to use Google tools. They all immerse you in the world of Google. And Google is one of the biggest tourism businesses in the world. They are making more money with tourism than anybody else. So you have to understand that even though they are free, they are just a marketing gimmick, basically, that Google uses to get them to use their search engines, get them to use their services and maps and everything you have. But the real world is that Google is really important part of modern e-business, and it's really difficult to do e-business without Google, especially in Western countries. So I really suggest that you do those. They are really useful. Then the biggest course assignment is a research plan for e-business research. Here I want you to utilize the material you have in Moodle, everything you hear in this course. Think about what are interesting topics in this study, in this course, and really thought about what kind of research in e-business, in e-tourism you would like to do that you would think would be beneficial for academic community or for businesses, preferably both. It's a very traditional research plan that starts with introduction, goes through literature review, so you have to go through not just the literature that we have on Moodle, but you should also be able to search for additional literature for yourself. When you know the topic, it's easier then to look more precise information. What's your problem statement, research goal, what kind of results you expect from this research and so forth. It should be around 4 pages long. I'm not really a big fan of minimum pages or something like that. I just want you to write concise, good text, and I'm going to create based on that. You can see how many points I'm going to give you from each of these different topics in the research plan. Then the second assignment is digital marketing campaign, where you have to design a content-based digital marketing campaign for a tourism company. It doesn't have to be a real one, but it has to be a real company, but you don't necessarily have to contact them. If you want, that's also a good thing that you could work with them if possible. If you know, for example, a company beforehand that you have worked with previously or something like that, you could give them ideas what kind of marketing campaigns they could do. And I do hope that you get enough ideas from these lectures and these materials that you will be able to do and manage a marketing campaign online. It doesn't have to be really long, it doesn't have to be super clever like some of the marketing campaigns we're going to go through during these lessons, but it has to be logical and based on the things that we learn during this course. And then the final one is that I want you to do something for tourism businesses. We're going to go through what kind of challenges and opportunities tourism businesses have regarding e-tourism, especially in Finland, but the problems are more or less global. Small companies, high seasonality, and so on. So for the last assignment, I want you to find 2 interesting links that you would like to share with tourism businesses, tourism entrepreneurs, tourism marketing managers, or whoever your target group is, and explain why do you think these are important, what kind of information these links give, and so on. And this is a small one, but it's a very interesting assignment, what you find. And something else than what has been presented, what I have been presenting here in this course. So you have to go to the internet and find new things, new information yourself. If anybody have any questions now about the assignments, I would be happy to answer, but you can also later on ask questions in the Moodle question and answer messaging board, for example. And here you can see the some of the course material, quite a good amount of links that take you to various parts of various topics regarding e-business in tourism, and also a good selection of like these basic articles that elaborate different topics and give you a starting point of what kind of things you can research. It's not, as I said earlier, it's not that you have to read all of these papers, but at least go through the abstract, see what they are all about, what the topic is, what kind of theories they use, how they have done research, and so on, to use, for example, get ideas to your own research plan. And I really value that you use these material and you cite them in your assignments, that you understand their contents and you are able to use it to develop your own thinking and thoughts. I would like the links in the Moodle to be in English. So we're going to design this for English audience, English practitioners, this final assignment. But that was a good question. I have to change it to Moodle that we use English content, English links in this course. Excellent. I think that's it. If you have any questions, you can write the messaging board, of course. And you are able to complete this course during this year if you return all the assignments to Moodle by December 9th. then you can also complete this course next year in January or February. And when you have submitted all these materials to Moodle, I will go through them during the December 10th and January 20th and February 12th and see who has submitted everything, and I'm going to grade them and give you the score for this course. Okay, let's start this course, the real course, and I'm trying to keep things interesting, but these kind of online lectures are really difficult to interactively make happen because you are participating with chat that has limited interactivity. I'm happy that Mushasi is here, really happy that I have at least someone to talk to. I don't sound so crazy. But my voice can be really boring at some point. I'm using that to put my baby girls to sleep every night. My wife cannot do that, so I have to do that every night because I just talk with them for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and they fall asleep. So be aware of that. But let's start with this simple question. When you think about yourself as a traveler, you traveled. Modern students have quite often quite extensive travel experience. When you think of yourself as travelers, what things are connected to technology and tourism business when you think of yourself when you go abroad, and what do you do regarding your traveling that is somehow connected to technology or information and communication technologies? I'm going to wait for a little bit for your answers because it takes a long time to write text. So please do. But just some general ideas. What do you do with technology, with travel and tourism technology? I'm really tempted to ask every question from Mushasi, yeah, but I'm trying to avoid that a little bit. Is there anybody in the audience who are participating in the chat or Mushasi who doesn't have a smartphone? You have a smartphone, yeah, right? Yeah, you have a smartphone. Is there someone? There's typically among, like, if the class is 20 or 30 people, there's one person who doesn't have a smartphone. But I would think this is such a small group that probably all of you have some kind of smartphones. Excellent. Sophia says, using maps to find my way in a new place. Excellent. These mobile devices have fantastic map applications. I don't know how did we succeed without them. But wait, we have these paper maps. And actually, I'm myself using technologies quite a lot when I travel. But when I go to a new destination, I really like the paper map. I like these paper maps that have these all the important sites really well put into them, and this some of these maps are really good that you cannot find with Google Maps or anything like that. Okay, then for example, key is book room through internet before going. Huge business, huge part of e-business, e-commerce is booking before the trip and even booking during the trip. Searching for destination, booking hotels, tickets, exactly. Information search, different locations, places to visit, restaurants in a new place. This is just a few good examples of how we are using technology. Basically, anybody reads guidebooks anymore? Yeah, guidebooks, good. We also know that if there would be German participants, for example, German tourists, they are really big with guidebooks. So it's not that everybody is using technology for everything. There's still room for offline media, but it's really customer dependent. This brings forth that You have to be aware who your customers are, what are they doing, what are they using, where do they search for information, where do they book their holidays, what kind of online channels they use, and so on. Using mobile apps to communicate in foreign languages. Excellent. Dictionaries and so on. This is one of the most rapidly developing fields in technology at this moment, machine learning, and especially regarding languages and speech. Machines are actually now able to understand speech better than humans. Latest Microsoft artificial intelligence. Booking tickets, booking hotels, searching for information. Yeah, it's so much what we do regarding our travels is online at this moment. And really, this just tells that when the tourists are online, then the businesses need to be online. It's the number one thing, to be there where your customers are. These are really, and yeah, lots of guidebook apps could be found in Apple Store. But it's funny that how many times these guidebook apps are basically just the paper apps that are implemented to your mobile phone. And for example, all this PDF, I've been using some guidebooks, downloaded some guidebooks myself, and they are just PDF files that you download to your mobile phone. There are also guidebook apps that really use the possibilities of mobile technologies, but they are not that many yet. Yeah, some destinations have their own applications when you can find all the information. Yes, they do. And some companies have all their own applications. And it's a huge question going on that should a tourism business, should a tourism destination have their own application, or is just a website enough? And we're going to discuss that later on when we discuss using mobile devices. But great. Thank you all for answers. This works really well. We can see that we are really using technology quite a lot. But not just, when you look at how to do business, how to do tourism business, there's a lot more than just information and search, especially when you think about the whole e-tourism field. E-tourism contains e-commerce and e-marketing, but it has also different kind of things. Using technologies to manage your company, plan, doing strategies, procuring your important assets, human resource management, research and development, finance, accounting, everything is done with the help of technology and online tools nowadays. E-commerce and e-marketing are the things that we focus here on this course, but it's important that you understand that all this content that we are going to go through during this course, it's just a little part of e-tourism. It's an important part, but still quite little. This is like the starting point where e-tourism research, the whole e-tourism concept started from. It was from Dimitrios Buhali's book in 2003. This was actually the first book that really discussed about this topic, coining the term e-tourism. It's a revolutionizing all corporate processes. Value chains have changed, as well as organizational relationship to stakeholders. It defines competitiveness of tourism destination or company, and is key to developing tourism industry. We've been here for 13 years now, and it's still the same thing. E-tourism, technology, use of electronic channels still defines competitiveness of destinations and businesses. And for sure, more than ever, it is the key to developing tourism industry. When we are talking about where our world in general is going and where the tourism industry is going, we are going to need technology to make it more sustainable, make it more environmentally friendly, making it better for tourists, making it better for destinations, making it better for locals. For all this, we need technology, and we need technological developments, and also people who are adopting these new technological innovations to their businesses. This is one other picture that really describes what e-tourism is all about. It says combination of both business, tourism, and information systems all put together form this concept of e-tourism. It goes way back. When we look at Dimitris Puhalis started basically the academic discussion on e-business and e-tourism, but it's still a very old thing that we have been talking for decades and decades. Basically, the first time technology, well, when you think of technology, for example, airplanes, cars, trains, they are all technological developments that have affected tourism and tourism businesses quite a lot. But the modern, I would say that the modern information and communication technologies in tourism started with the first central reservation systems back in the 1950s. Previously, well, the airlines had been operating for several decades now, and everything was done manually. All the reservations, all the flights, everything. But then the first automatic reservation system was devised by the American Airlines in 1946, but it still required humans to work. But then these, you can see here what kind of computers we are talking about when we talk about these very first reservation systems, which actually speed flight information to area offices quite a lot. So it still required human input quite a lot and so on, but it was a huge step forward and where everything basically started. Slowly, these technologies started to develop and distribute from single airline to other airlines. And new systems and new companies, new business models began. For example, Amadeus is still operating today. Very old company with first experimental global distribution systems. Not just one airline in one system, but it was possible to include many different airlines and products into one system. And then not just the airlines and travel agencies who sold the flights, but lately Apollo, for example, in 1971 was launched by the United Airlines to incorporate also hotels. So about 50 years ago, it was finally possible to book flights and hotels from the same place. These business models worked quite extensively on commissions and membership fees, and they were really expensive, really big membership fees, which were too expensive for small businesses. So basically, if you had a small tourism business, it was really difficult for you to get in touch with your customers and especially sell your products to customers. Basically, phone was the only thing. And then in the 1970s, the first personal computers started coming up. So people were finally able to get computers at their home. Internet developed in the 90s and opened up for commercial use in 1995. In 1993, internet contained only 1% of all information traffic in the world, but 2007 it was 97%. Now I think it's so close to 100% that it's basically all the information is transmitted through the internet. So it's probably one of the most important developments in human history. So basically there's a few revolutions, few technological revolutions like fire and wheel and coal and steam power and then there's the internet. So it's something that has enabled the technology to take one leap forward. Up until the moment that internet was commercialized and everybody could start making their own websites and so on, about 50% of all electronic communication in the world was tourism related. That's quite a lot. Mainly airlines, how they exchange information. But then in 1995, for example, Lonely Planet opened its own website, and 1996, Microsoft created Expedia, which is still a huge player in the field. Then lately came destination management systems, which provided finally information on local travel products, services and sites. So finally, these small companies had the possibility to offer their services to global audience. And for a very long time, the tourism industry was based on long supply chain, so there were a lot of different intermediaries between the customer and the company. There were travel agents and distributions and resellers and so on. And all these different actors took their own part of the value of the industry. We had brochures and really non-elastic supply and pricing systems. But gradually we started using fax machines and finally emails. And emails is one of these innovations that I find strange, how it's still basically the same thing that was used 25 years ago or something. So it's been really long time stayed the same, which is really funny. 1995 to 2000 was kind of like the wild west of the internet. Everybody basically could do whatever they wanted and get huge amount of funding with just basically going to investors and saying, we have this idea for a website, give us money, and the investors gave them money. And great, let's do websites and let's do web services and put everything online and we make fortunes and so on. But everybody knows the dot-com bust. All the stocks crashed in 2001, I think, when investors realized that nobody is actually making profit using these websites. So they had invested a lot. I do not understand how could they invest so much money on these systems without any kind of profits. And this is important to know because we are in really similar situation at this moment. We are talking about a new bubble that's forming that, for example, Twitter has not made a single dollar of profit during its lifetime. Airbnb is projected to make profit this year, but it's still valued somewhere around $30 billion or something like that. Tesla, one of these huge new technological innovative companies, just managed to post its first profit ever. Still valued quite high. So there's a lot of belief at the moment that this trend that we are using technologies and how we are using them will continue in quite far in the future. TripAdvisor was founded in 2000 online. They started their service in 2004. First flight search engine available for people was kayak.com. Airbnb was launched in 2008, but it took quite a long while before they started really understand what this whole concept was about. Google launched flight service in 2011. So these are just to mention some services that really point you into the timeline of what is happening. All these new services are constantly developed and a lot of services and businesses fade away. It's the survival of the fittest, and the only constant thing in the modern environment is change. So everything is constantly changing. We are making new business models, and for example, Nokia is an excellent example of a company that has remade itself over and over and over again, living this constant change turbulence. It's also quite interesting when you think about technologies is to look at the history of Google. Their basic idea, it was founded in 1998 by Larry Page and Sergey Brin. And their basic idea and the question and the problem that they wanted to solve was how to organize almost limitless. Well, basically in 1998 it was not limitless. Someone could even count how many web pages there existed. But there was still quite a lot of information in the internet, and it was really difficult if you didn't know the address to find that information. So they started up a search engine. It was based on the idea that the more links a website has, the more other websites are referring to that website, the better its content is. And they started organizing these websites. They calculated how many other websites are linking to this website. And if there were a lot of links to that website, it was really high up in their search results, and they thought that this is a good website. Since then, their algorithm has developed quite a lot, as well as has their business. In October 2000, they launched this really innovative new kind of revenue model with AdWords. So it was not the users who paid for the service, it was the businesses, and it was the advertisers who could bring their products and advertisements to the users of this service. In 2004, they had 6 billion index sites and files. Now, if you search for some words, 6 billion is nothing. So some search words have more than 6 billion results, for example. They launched their stocks for public markets in 2004. It cost $85. Somebody can Google and see how much it is at this moment. I think it's somewhere around 800 maybe. They've done quite well so far. It's one of these stable companies of technological development. They have launched new products constantly. Google Maps, Google Analytics, huge Android operating system based on Finnish Linux product was launched in 2007, and it's one of the most important platforms, operating systems at this moment. As I mentioned earlier, Google Flights, they did try Google Glass, these glasses that you could put on to see the world in a different way through augmented reality, but it didn't take off. They have their own research center for experimental technology with Google Apps, and some people have even called this that we are living in Google poly. Our technological behavior is so much dominated, especially in Western countries, by Google that whatever we do in the internet, Google basically knows it. And it has so much information on all of us that it's frightening. You can go to Google and go to your site and download all the information that Google has in their servers about you. And it's hundreds and hundreds of pages of information. Where have you been? What have you done? And it's definitely something to look at if you're interested in the topic. Yes. And this picture shows the rapidness and pace of technological change quite well. When you think about these new services that come up, Facebook and Twitter, they took almost 3 years to reach 25 million people. For Google Plus, it took only, one month or something like that. 1 month to reach 25 million people. And why is that? It was because all these Twitters and Facebooks and MySpaces created the environment that enabled us to change information so fast. It enabled Google Plus to get into the minds of people in a way that was never ever possible before. For radio, it took 38 years to reach 50 million users. Television 13, Internet 5 years. Google Plus did it in 3 months. Until 2003, mankind created 5 exabits of information. That's quite a lot. But now it's like snap of the finger when that happens, over and over and over again. So, and it's only developing so fast. We are, in some cases, for example, mobile traffic and information technology storage space, we are talking of almost exponential growth. So it's so fast that it's unbelievable to think how things develop. For example, when you think of 2005, you could buy a 120 megabyte micro SD card. In 2014, 9 years ago, it has 1,000 times more information, I think, 128 gigabytes. That's a huge amount of development in just 9 years. And when you think about, if that rate continues, when you think 9 years from 2014, it will have 128 terabytes. which is just ridiculous if things continue with the same way. Let's see if this works. And how much is going on in the internet all the time? It's just mind-boggling if you, and you can see this better yourself. It's mind-boggling to think about what happens every minute of the day, every minute. YouTube users upload 72 hours of new video, so 3 days of new video every day, I think, something like that. Facebook uses 2.5 million pieces of content. WhatsApp, 350,000 photos. Every minute, 216,000 new Instagram photos. And this really shows how much new data. All this is new data that have to be stored somewhere. Because when something is online, it never goes away. So it's always stored somewhere. So it's only good thing that our hard drives and hard disks and memory cards are able to increase their space so fast, because this amount of information is also increasing at least as fast as the space required to store it. And there was even, I think last year, there was a genuine fear in the hard drive industry that they just cannot make enough hard drive space to store all the information that these social media services need. But apparently they figured it out. That I haven't seen any recent news about the topic for some time now, so I assume it's okay, and they have found a way to put more and more space into more little hard drive. And it's exactly that this technology fuels its own growth. Data generated by mankind doubles every year. I think it's more than that nowadays. It enables learning algorithms that actually everything we do online is ruled by algorithms. What we see in Facebook feed is based on the algorithms, which are like these huge equations that Facebook uses to show you the content that it thinks you most likely want to see. The same is Google. They have search engine algorithms that decide which web pages they will show you when you show them when you type a keyword. YouTube has its own algorithms to show you what kind of videos you should watch next. These algorithms rule our world and really decide quite a lot of what we are doing. And these are developing all the time because we are able to get more and more computation power behind them. So far, one of the major limitations of technological development has been lack of computing power. Moore's law, already devised by almost 50 years ago, states that the transistor counts in microprocessors of certain price category doubles every year, and so far it's been working quite well. There has been, during the few recent years, discussion about is the more laws gonna fail, and the increase in computational power slow down. But the engineers and scientists have always figured out a way to do something different so that this law has worked even today. So it's one of those things that has really stayed the same for a really long time. But, for example, we are now starting to talk about quantum computing, which would like 10 quadruple, make this 10 times, 100 times faster computational power than ever before. So these kind of new technological leaps can make Moore's law, for example, obsolete in really short time when the system starts working. And then it enables us to create better algorithms and even artificial intelligence. And we are almost getting there now, even today. This is, for example, another technological development, carbon nanotubes, which have been believed to be one of the saviors of Moore's law, for example, and a lot more. When we look back, mobile revolution has been one of those things that has changed us and online business the most. It basically started, we've had mobile phones for a very, very long time, so there's basically nothing new about it. But it all started changing when Apple opens up its iOS system to third-party applications by creating App Store. This was actually one of the biggest innovations that Apple has made. It's not about their devices per se, they are great devices in any case, but the fact that they innovated this kind of store where basically anybody could submit their own program to be sold all over the world to these phones was really innovative. It created platform economy and ecosystems that we are even discussing today, which are one of the crucial points of new businesses, new business models, is that what kind of ecosystem they can make when they are starting a new business. What kind of platform that all the others could join in is being created. Internet user growth is somewhere around 3.6 billion at this moment, I think. It's steady growth now. It's not explosive growth anymore, but steady growth. Keeping somewhere around, for a long time, around half of the world's population has been online. In 2009, Statistical Center of Finland posted this kind of news that in Finland the internet is not growing anymore. We have reached the peak of how many people are using the internet in Finland. But this is actually one of the Google services that I like. Let's see if this works. Of course it's not working. No, it is. Yes, great. We can see this is internet users as percentage of population. This is a free service that Google offers. It lists all the available data basically in the world. So it has World Bank data and World Economic Forum data and National Statistic Database data and everything to one place. It's Google Public Data Service. And I have here modeled internet users as percentage of population in Norway, Finland and Sweden. And when we look at Finland in 2009, we can see that there's a slight dip, which resulted in Statistics Finland to tell that Finland is not growing anymore. But it was just a small dip. Ever since then, we were there 84%. We are now here in 92.5%. So that's already quite a huge amount of our population online. In Norway, it's 96%, 97%. So we are, especially in Nordic countries, living in really digital life, really using these internet technologies. It's actually really interesting to see in Sweden, it has dropped from 2012 to 2015 by almost 5%, and I'm not really sure what's happening there, but it's an interesting trend to see. So, if Norway is in 96%, Finland still has quite a lot of room to grow. And I think that we are getting there because there's always this huge discussion about, are the old people, for example, dropping out of society? Are we not including them in? But the state is that there's such a huge amount of people online that it's only a very small minority that is not. And it's an old minority, typically, who are actually really dying away. So it's only about time, matter of time, before we reach that 98, 99% of internet users, or even 100%. I don't think that is even impossible to reach. So we are still growing. Not only mobile devices, but also social media is one of these huge, big words and trends and technological developments that we have encountered during the past decade or so. Facebook, especially in Western countries, as well as the poster boy, as the example company of what social media is. We have been talking about the death of Facebook for a very long time, that the teens are not using Facebook and then the Facebook is dying and so on, but nonetheless it's still posting more profits than ever. For example, in Finland, this worked for me, but it doesn't work. Well, for example, in Finland, Facebook is by far quite dominating social media website. It owns WhatsApp and Instagram, which are also really popular. So it has a really strong position here in the Finnish market, also in the European market. But if we go, for example, to Russia, Facebook is only used by basically some students in St. Petersburg, and that's it. When we go to China, Facebook is banned, I think, yeah. So they have their own services, and so on. So it's really market dependent on what kind of social media, for example, a company should be in. TripAdvisor is one of these huge social media developments that have huge impact on travel and tourism. At this moment, I checked, in 2015 they had 200 million reviews and opinions. This year they had almost 400 million. So it's huge growth that TripAdvisor is seeing. It's also because not just people are using the internet more, but they are traveling a lot more, and travel is increasing several % a year, and it of course has good effects on TripAdvisor. This is monthly active users of Facebook. At the beginning of this year, they had 1.7 billion monthly active users, which is huge. 566 of those were from Asia Pacific region. Facebook has 75% of its users are mobile only. Something like that. Huge amount of people are just using Facebook with their mobile phones. This is, for example, statistics from Finland in 2015. What the Finns of different ages are using the internet for? If we look, for example, the young people, 16 to 24, 100% have used the internet in the past 3 months. 25 to 34, 100%. 35 to 44, 99. So it's really when you go above 64 years, then you will start finding differences. 75 to 89 years old, only 31% have used the internet during the past 3 years. So there is really a huge generational gap between the use of internet. But as we could see from the Google's data, the number of internet users in Finland is growing. And it's not growing because of this small or this 100% segment. It's because all these older people are starting to use the internet more and more. That's where the growth comes from. So we probably already, you also have grandpas and grandmas who have started using internet or technology or computers quite late, and I had a grandmother who started using computers when she was 90 years old, and I think it's getting more and more common. Mobile phone use, internet use with mobile phone in age 16 to 24, it's 96%, and 87% in 35 to 44 years. So internet is very mobile concept at this moment. Also, we are buying quite a lot of things in the internet, and especially the young people are following social network services in the internet in Finland. This is very recent statistic, 55,000 participants in 8 different markets. Why are we using the web? Why has this become so important for us? We are using it to inspire, look for fresh ideas or trying something new. We are using it to feel good, improve our mood, feel relaxed, update ourselves socially, see what's going on with our friends, looking for entertainment, escape mental break, find information, seek answers or advice, or stay updated, follow the news and so on. Learn something new, being part of the community, or seek support or insight on a topic, for example. This is really good, I think really good figure, because it's these are the topics that basically tourism businesses have to think about when they are creating their online presence. That what kind of gratification we are giving to our customers, our tourists, our users on the web. Which of these do we provide for them? This is also a good chart to show you the developments in mobile phones. We are talking about feature phones and smartphones. Feature phones are these that do not have real internet connection and browser and are quite like stupid phones. But smartphones are the ones that you use quite a lot to surf the internet and use different applications and so on. And we can see that last year was the tipping point that more smartphones was sold in the world than feature phones. And it's only going to that direction, that feature phones are dying slowly out. And it's of course because there's an Indian company that created $9 smartphone. So what's the reason to buy feature phones anymore when you can find so cheap smartphones? And for example, when you think of these smartphones that we have, even the cheapest ones have so much more computing power that my really expensive computer had 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. They have the games that you can play even with $100 or €100 smartphones are so much better in their graphics than anything we had 10 years ago. So it's really good example of the rapid change in technological development. And this also shows, and these are really important for you to understand, because this division of desktop, tablet, portable PCs, smartphones is one of the foundations of doing online marketing. You can design marketing campaigns, for example, based on the devices that your customers are using. You have to design your websites and applications and marketing strategies based on what kind of platforms and devices your customers are using. And in this case, it's really, really good to focus on smartphones, as you can see from these slides. Desktop personal computers are really small market when you think about all these devices that have access to internet. And these do not even include Internet of Things devices, which is a whole different part. But this is also really funny. This is Gartner, one of the largest technological consultancy companies in the world. Their prediction of their forecast of mobile devices by open operating systems in 2012 that they made. They forecasted how the mobile phones will be sold in 2016, and they forecasted Microsoft to have 23.1% market share this year. Microsoft basically has no market share this year. So this is just one really good example of how even these huge companies can go really, really, really wrong with their predictions. It's really difficult to understand and forecast what's happening in the future. And this is a huge failure for them. But everybody thought that Microsoft is going to come and rock the mobile world and do the third operating system, but it didn't work out. Now Android is somewhere around, I think, 90% or something like that. But now, this is from this September, Business Insider article about after 9 years the smartphone boom is finally over. Meaning that the number of smartphones sold is not growing anymore. It's starting to be steady. Steady growth for smartphones, but the boom is over. So now we're not buying smartphones anymore every year, new smartphone or anything like that. They are not developing so fast anymore that it would require us to constantly change our devices to be able to do the latest things. When you look at these devices, there's not really that much changed during the past 6 or 7 years, basically. When, for example, comparing iPhones, iPhone 4 or iPhone 7, it's computational power, memories, camera, and that's basically it. That has changed. And smartphone, really powerful smartphone bought through 2 or 3 years ago is still really good today if the screen is not broken. But this is really just only the beginning. When we think about where have we come here, think about actually the internet revolution, which is only 20 years old. Such a new piece of technology. 20 years is such a small time in technological development. It's basically nothing in mankind's history, for example. And if the growth goes the way it shows, there's quite a lot of new things coming on. Gartner, the one company I criticized earlier, has this Gartner hype cycle, which they publish every year, and it shows where all these upcoming technologies are at the moment, how close they are of becoming used in everyday business and everyday life. There's so much new things coming on. Smart dust, quantum computing, I told you earlier about 3D scanners, mobile robots, virtual assistants. All this is coming up sooner or later. And these things will change us and how we travel and what we do and everything. So the change is the only constant thing in this in this world. And this is a nice example of
Rule number 2, you gotta stick with it.
Corning, one of the company that makes the screens or the glasses for our smartphones. This is what they think will be a day in the future. So one of the questions that is really interesting to think about is that how much do we need technology? Do we need technology to do travel and tourism? How much? Well, for example, I actually find it really funny how similar tourism is than what it was 60, 70 years ago. You book a plane ticket, you get on the plane, you fly to your destination, you spend there a week, you go to the beach, you see the sights, you go to the restaurants, you stay in a hotel, you fly back home, and you are happy. Basically, the tourism is really similar on its basic idea than what it has been for a very long time. We are talking just about digitalization these concepts that we have. We are making map digital, we are making guidebooks digital, we are making phone calls digital, and so on. So the big question is, when we are making tourism digital, we are not there yet. But for example, when we consider virtual reality technology, there's some really interesting possibilities coming up in that way that we actually might someday live in a world where we don't need technology, we don't need to travel anymore because of technology. But in any case, at this moment especially, there is tourism without technology. But it's really hard to find tourism business that is not using technology in any way. So if you are in the world of business, you have to be really informed and really up to date what is happening with technology, because they are changing customer behavior, marketing, management, everything really rapidly. I have to say that going back to where we come from, where we started from, the Steve Jobs quote that basically it's all about people who are using these technologies. It's not about the technology itself. I myself encounter this almost every day, every week in what I do in trying to increase use of information and communication technologies in Finnish tourism businesses, for example. That it's not the technology that's the problem. It's always the people that's the problem. Their attitudes towards technology, their skills about using technology, their know-how, and so on. So, and how they treat their customers, and how they utilize customer information and information from various sources, and so on. So, we have to get people ready for the technology, not the other way around. This concludes my first lectures on the topic of the history of e-tourism. How did we get here, and where we are at the moment, and a little bit of tasting of what is to come. If you have any questions, Shasi or anybody on chat participating in the lectures now, we have some time to ask the questions. I do hope that you understand now that how such a small step we have taken into information and communication technologies during these 20, 25, 30 years that we have been using modern day personal computers, mobile phones, internet, social media, and so on. So we are just right in the very beginning of all this process, and everything is going to change, and it requires you to constantly be alert on what is happening everywhere in the world to really keep up with this change. If anybody doesn't have any questions, then I'm going to stop these lectures here and stop the broadcasting recording. We are going to stick with the timetable. So the timetable I have made will be kept. If I'm closing these lectures early, we will still continue as the timetable shows. Let's see what it is. It's 10 to 11. So we have now half an hour break. If you come up with any questions during this time, you can write them on the chat, and we will go through them at the beginning of next recording session. But this recording will now stop, and it will start again around 10 to 11. So thank you all for participating, and hope to see you in next lessons also.